Kess, you've been asking me a question for a little while now. And what was that question?
What's your favorite color?
Oh.
And I refuse to answer.
No
one can know that about me. Get access to all my accounts.
Too deep.
What is the name of the continent in this fabulous homebrew world that you have created for so many years now?
We have.
So yes, today I'm going to finally give you the answer that you've been waiting for. So, let's get into it. Hope you guys can see the stream, by the way. So yes, you want to know the continent name. So you asked me that, and obviously I can't just answer that. You guys know me at this stage. You know that I don't ever answer anything that I'm asked simply. I answer every question that anyone might possibly have. So to answer the name of the continent, we need to go through how gods work in this world, the creation myth of the world, and the name of the world, and then finally, the name of the continent. So, how do gods work in this world? So gods in this world, like in many fantasy worlds, they're real, they created the world, all those bits and pieces, and they do have tangible effects on the world. And to me, that is the key difference between gods and very powerful magic users, is that gods have the power of creation. And so I want you to view the gods of this world as a metaphor for creation, specifically through the lens of creativity. The creation of the world, the people, everything in it, is the creative expression of the gods. So as a result of this, the gods have like a different view of the world than how mortals do. The world's their creation, so they're not necessarily interested in being like worshipped by their own creation. So they're kind of like detached, and like they kind of understand the world because they created it, but also they kind of don't understand it. They're kind of like George Lucas not really getting what makes Star Wars really good, and then when they come in, they kind of muck it up again. So despite them not really understanding the world in this way, and not being really interested in being worshipped, worship happens. There's like churches throughout this world because the effects of gods are tangible. People have retroactively interpreted those actions and built whole doctrines and scriptures around those different types of gods' beliefs. But the gods themselves, they're largely indifferent to the actions of these groups. I mean, like they're individuals at the end of the day, so some of them may like to be worshipped, but, not all of them. I think it's the exception to the rule. So we're not going to show that one. We're going to go over here to this one. So how do clerics and paladins work in a world where the gods don't give a crap about the church? So thing is, gods don't really give a crap about churches and robes and ceremonies, but they are like very interested in random individual people, basically. So what they like to do is they just like to get up in people's business and just sort of like muck around in there, essentially, is what they like. So they're like these primal beings who represent ideas and metaphors. So despite being supremely detached from the world, they have their own sets of strange value systems. And when they happen to see people who express those value systems, a god might decide to do something like incredibly impressive and just like blow that person's mind, and then give them a really cool gift or ability or something like that. Because at the end of the day, the gods are people who create. They like to make things, and they're just kind of show-offs, basically. They don't want to be worshipped for things they've done in the past. They want to do something cool as hell and bask in the glory of that moment while acting like they don't really care what happened. So clerics and paladins, instead of being like devout worshippers of deities and following religious tenets closely and all those types of things, they are people who embodied the ideals of the god, who then had an event happen in their life where the god appeared to them and gave them some type of divine boon. So as a result of this, clerics and paladins still act like clerics and paladins as they are in the rules, but they're largely free agents who tend to become adventurers, big movers and shakers in the world, basically. So before we jump into creation myth, I will just touch on like one of the gods from the pantheon here. But my mouth is getting incredibly dry at the amount that I'm talking here.
Huge draw. The law dropping to be Eustace.
Oh man, what a reveal that'd be. So I'll reveal more in the story as they come up, and I want to tell you about the head god, or at least the oldest one. So this is the Grey Chronicle, is the name of this god. So he is the god of home and stories, and he's the life domain deity of this world. So his symbol is a river's current, and he's known to appear in the world as a human man performing in smoky taverns when there's only a handful of people left in the room. He tends to wear this cheap grey suit with a black button-down shirt and no tie, and he has a silver tooth and skin like leather when he appears. And despite being the oldest god, he is the least actively worshipped. Because being the god of stories, his impact on the world is the least tangible. His main thing that he does is mysteriously appear in these taverns and tell strange stories of things that may or may not have happened. But there is a small religion that aims to record what he says, and they call themselves the chroniclists, basically. So sometimes he tells the same stories, and sometimes he tells new ones. But one story has been recorded telling multiple times, and the chroniclists theorize this could be the story of how the world came to be. And funnily enough, there's actually like a magical recording of when he told this story. So I thought we'd just play that for you guys now, and we can take a listen to
Jack's been cooking.
Oh my gosh.
What the hell, dude?
this one here.
Oof.
It's like a tavern, right? This empty tavern scene. And this man in a grey suit is standing on a stage. He starts to speak and he's like, "You right there, ladies and gentlemen? Still alive out there? Well, yeah, let me close you up with this one. I'll get out of here." He says, "So, a long time ago, right? In a distant time, before there was anything. There was nothing but the current. It flows through everything we can see and everything we can't. And back then, it was everything. There's a group of friends, right? Or, they were more than friends, really. That uncomfortable something you get when you spent more time with each other than anyone's supposed to. And they walk through the shallows and the currents pulling them from here to there. There was a man and a woman, if you could call them that. And they were joined. Some said it was too early, but they wanted a place within the current to call home. So they built this place. And they called it Tide Mark. A place for them and others to anchor themselves. So time passed and the man, let's call him Joe, the currents they called to him. And he went away. And the woman, we'll call her Rita, she was left waiting. But when Joe came back, Tide Mark had changed. Others had made refuge in their home. Islands rose in the oceans as the others fell into the waves, their bodies forming the land masses that we know today. But still, Tide Mark was Joe's and Rita's. And life bloomed. One day Rita came to Joe, told him she wanted to dive into the water and become like the others. But Joe refused. He still remembered the current. He still chafed against the bonds. So they fought. Lightning crashed in the skies of Tidemark. Eventually the currents called and Joe was gone once more. And again, Rita was alone to wait. But this time when he returned, Rita had moved on. Doing what she truly wanted, she descended into the oceans of Tidemark, and in her place rose a magnificent sight. A place of lush mountains, lush forests, I should say, towering mountains, and marshlands teeming with life. Rita was gone, and in her place was Perenna. And that left Joe, the man from our story. If he even had a name, or if he even was a man, he was left standing in awe. He knew he could never do what Rita had done. So he decided to put on this grey suit, watch over Tidemark. And that's what he does to this day.
Oh my God, Jack!
Jesus!
All right, ladies and gentlemen, hope you enjoyed it. I've been the Grey Chronicle, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Whoa.